Would you risk your life just to go to school? Imagine living in a place where going to school could get you killed. That's what it was like for Malala Yousafzai growing up in the Swat Valley of Pakistan. In this valley nestled in the foothills of the Himalayas, there was a time when school was everything to Malala. It was a place of laughter, learning, and friendship. But then, the Taliban showed up and everything changed. They made it illegal for girls to go to school, and Malala's life turned into a nightmare. Imagine being so afraid that you have to hide who you are just to go to school. But Malala wasn't about to let this stand. Even though she was just 11 years old, she started writing secret messages to the BBC about how the Taliban were controlling her valley. She didn't want to give up her life, but she also wouldn't give up her dreams. She wrote about how scared she was, but also about how important school was to her. And believe me, her stories were anything but silent. Fast forward a few years and Malala was a teenager speaking out against the Taliban, telling everyone she met how important girls' education was. You might think that this would make her a hero to some, but in reality, she was becoming a huge problem for the Taliban. The Taliban leader ordered her to be taken away. One day, while she was riding home from school with her friends, a man stepped in front of the bus and fired at Malala. She was rushed to the hospital and put in a medically induced coma. The Taliban had succeeded in silencing her. For now, people all over the world were shocked and saddened by what had happened to Malala. They mourned the loss of a brave young girl who dared to speak out against the Taliban. But here's where the story takes a twist. Miraculously, Malala woke up from her coma. After months of surgery and treatment in the UK, she made a full recovery. Can you imagine the strength it took to wake up from such a traumatic event and decide to keep fighting for what you believe in? Malala was determined not to let the Taliban break her spirit. She wanted to show them that no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't take away her voice or her dreams. And that's exactly what she did. When Malala returned home, she was greeted by thousands of cheering supporters. They had been praying for her recovery and were overjoyed to see her alive and well. But Malala didn't just disappear after this. No, sir. She went back to school. Yes, you heard that right. Despite everything she had been through, Malala decided to go back to school. This was a huge statement. It sent a message to the world that no matter how much fear or hatred the Taliban spread, education was still the most powerful weapon we have. Malala continued to speak out against the Taliban. She traveled around the world meeting with leaders and activists, sharing her story and inspiring others to fight for education. Imagine sitting in a room full of important people, some of whom have never seen a girl with a book in her hand, listening to a 16-year-old girl tell them why every child deserves an education. That's exactly what happened when Malala spoke at the United Nations. The entire assembly hall was silent as Malala spoke about her experience and called for peace and education for all children. She reminded them that every child has the right to learn, no matter where they live or who they are. Her speech was so powerful that people stood up and gave her a 5-minute standing ovation. At just 16 years old, she had become a global icon of hope and courage. In her speech, Malala talked about how important education is for both boys and girls. She explained that when girls are educated, their families and communities thrive. She also mentioned that the Taliban are not the real enemy. Instead, ignorance and extremism are the enemies of education. But Malala wasn't done yet. She was just getting started. After her incredible speech at the UN, Malala went on to win the Nobel Peace Prize. At just 17 years old, she became the youngest Nobel Peace Prize laureate in history. People all over the world celebrated her victory, because it was more than just an award for bravery. It was a sign of hope that good always triumphs over evil. When she accepted the prize, Malala said, "I am not only fighting for the right to education for myself, but for all girls around the world." She knew that her journey was far from over and that there were still many challenges ahead. But Malala wasn't afraid. She had faced death and come back stronger. She had spoken in front of world leaders and inspired millions. She knew that she could keep going and that her voice would only get louder. Since winning the Nobel Peace Prize, Malala has continued to use her platform to advocate for education. She has founded the Malala Fund, which provides girls with the resources they need to get an education. She has also spoken at countless events, urging world leaders to invest in education and protect the rights of girls. And here's the amazing thing. Because of Malala's work, millions of girls around the world are now in school. The Taliban may have tried to silence her, but her voice has become a roar that echoes across the globe. Malala's story isn't just about surviving an attack. It's about refusing to surrender when the world tells you to stay silent. It's about picking yourself up and dusting yourself off when you've been knocked down. It's about speaking up for what you believe in, even when you're afraid. Malala's message is clear. One book, one pen, one child, and one teacher can change the world. And guess what? We couldn't agree more. As we wrap up this episode, I want you to think about the impact that one person can have on the world. Malala didn't let the Taliban take away her voice or her dreams. And because of her bravery, millions of other girls have been able to go to school and pursue their own dreams. So I ask you, what will you do to make a difference in the world? What will you do to help other people and make their lives better? Remember, you have the power to make a positive impact. All it takes is a little bit of courage, kindness, and determination. Malala's story is a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope always shines through. So don't ever give up on your dreams and never let anyone tell you that you're not capable of achieving them. With hard work, dedication, and a willingness to help others, you can make the world a better place just like Malala did. If you enjoyed the story of Malala, be sure to check out our video on the incredible journey of another brave young woman who dared to defy expectations and make a difference in the world. Click the link on the screen now and get ready to be inspired by her story. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and never stop believing in the power of education.